welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolfe. That is the Hall of Famer Cris Carter. This right here is Nick Wright.
Nice bracelet, my friend.
Yeah, I got friends. I got
Troy Vincent from the NFL League office stopped by yesterday. Yeah. Showered CC here with some really nice gifts.
Yeah, I got the NFL looking at me, so now I'm wearing my Walter Payton pin and everything.
Nice. Hey, I like it. Nice little day yesterday. Good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, it was a good day on the golf course.
Good day on the golf course.
That was a very long shake.
Yeah.
It was a little awkward, if I'm being completely honest.
He tried to do a little over.
He's coming, man.
We have a very jacked show for you today. Stacked is what I was going with, and then I said jacked. Brett Favre is worried about Aaron Rodgers. Ben Roethlisberger knows what he has to do now that Lev Bell and AB are gone, but we got to start once again with them Dallas Cowboys and mounting tensions within this organization.
Yeah.
Ezekiel Elliott remains away from training camp. It is being reported that Zeke told the team back in January that he wouldn't play a game this season without a deal. And back in February, Stephen Jones said the negotiations with Zeke would probably start with Todd Gurley's deal. And while Jones says that type of deal is still possible, man, it certainly doesn't seem likely.
I still, think that's within realm. At the same time, I think the market reset with Le'Veon. I think you see what happens with Gurley, how tenuous it is. And then you get a great player like Le'Veon, who's every bit as well thought of as Gurley, and he had unfettered free agency. He had 32 teams with no draft picks attached, and the market was 13.5 and less than Gurley. So, at the end of the day, business changes, and we certainly pay attention to that as well.
All right, Nick, I'll start with you. You think Todd Gurley's deal should be a cautionary tale for the Cowboys with Zeke?
Oh, I think potentially, whether it should or shouldn't be, it's clear the Cowboys are treating it as one, as something to learn from and not make the same mistakes. I also find the language Stephen Jones using to be very interesting. I've only ever heard of a deal resetting the market upwards. He is saying Le'Veon Bell's deal reset the market downwards.
Which it did.
Well, but I've never heard it phrased like that. Usually we talk about Julio Jones. When he gets his new deal, it will reset the wide receiver market. After Michael Thomas just reset the wide receiver market, that different quarterback deals. Matt Ryan's reset the quarterback market. But what Stephen Jones is saying, and it's a little funny wordplay, but I think it's an interesting move by him saying, no, it can go both ways. It's not just that the market is at the highest deal. He's saying the market's at the most recent deal. So Todd Gurley set the market here, but Le'Veon Bell reset it down here, so Zeke is operating from this place instead of this place. I'd never thought of it that way. And one should know that when Stephen Jones did talk about giving Todd Gurley the deal, as you mentioned, that was in February. Le'Veon Bell got his deal in March, and they're looking at it and saying, well, Todd Gurley, 4 for 58 with 45 guaranteed. That's one thing. Le'Veon Bell, 4 for 53, more importantly, with only 27 guaranteed. Oh, that's more our speed. Zeke, though, doesn't want to hear none of this. Zeke looks at, I'm the best running back in the league, so who makes the most? I should make more than them. And so this is where, to something Cris been saying the last few days, that this could stretch, that this could get ugly. If the Cowboys are operating from the perspective of Le'Veon Bell is the starting point, and Zeke's operating from the perspective Todd Gurley's the starting point, it's not the 5 years in total or the $5 million in total salary difference. It's the $18 million in guarantees that are the difference that they are haggling over. And so I think Stephen Jones, this maybe should have been their position earlier than right now, that maybe they should have never said at the Combine, we know it starts at Todd Gurley. Maybe at that time they thought Le'Veon Bell was going to get the type of deal Le'Veon Bell thought he was going to get, so it didn't matter. But they have kind of backed themselves into a corner that they're trying to squeeze their way out of when it comes to their public comments about what Zeke will or won't get.
I have a feeling you're going to agree with me. Stop talking so much. Every day we hear another comment, and they're starting to contradict with things they say earlier. Ezekiel Elliott and his team, they hear every single word of this, and now you have to wonder whether things are really going to get out of control. Now, the tension's about as high as it's going to get between the two sides.
Absolutely, Jenna. They need to negate whatever the storyline and the narrative and control it. They don't have to address it. They can talk about the players that are there. After they said that they had made top 5 offers to everyone, there's no need to keep talking about it, because the more they talk is the more rope that eventually they're going to end up hanging themselves for, because the Dallas Cowboys are not ready to live in a world that does not exist without Ezekiel Elliott in it. Now, if they were like the Pittsburgh Steelers, but we didn't think the Pittsburgh Steelers would even be able to do that. So it was a combination of Pittsburgh and then L. Bell deciding that he was going to hold out. But they're not helping their case. But I do believe, a lot like you, Jenna, we discussed it this morning, like this is going to get ugly. You can see the makings of it because of, if you try to do the top 5 salaries at every position, every owner would like to take, every general manager would like to take one of those salaries out of there. The left tackle for New England Patriots, he was not that good. He reset the market.
Trent Brown going to Oakland.
Going to Oakland. After limited experience, 1 year with the Pats, he gets this ginormous deal. And I can guarantee you, general managers are out there saying, hey, don't come to me talking about his deal. All right? He was a free agent. Now, I could understand why Steven would want to talk about L. Bell, because, man, that's a contract that they would do today.
It's reasonable because they can get out of it. After 2 years, you have no accountability to the player.
Right, but this is the problem. You got 2 years before you even get to that deal. So in 2 years, what will the deal look like then? See, I don't think it's a bad thing that Zeke pushes them to the wall and then ultimately comes into camp, plays out this last year, and then gets that ginormous deal, because they'll have more flexibility because of Dak and Amari potentially can be done at that point. But I don't think Zeke is going to blink until they start to get to the regular season game. And, Jenna, you asked me this morning, do I think Zeke's going to miss some time? I believe it's going to get ugly. I believe that first game he's not going to be there for the Dallas Cowboys. Jenna and I share that same opinion. And Jerry Jones loses in that, because ultimately Zeke's going to come back this season.
Well, that's the words you use, cautionary tale, that the Cowboys are looking at Todd Gurley's situation as potential cautionary tale. Zeke's not doing any talking. Zeke's down in Mexico, and it's probably to his benefit he's not doing any talking. But if he were...
He did release a statement yesterday. Because when you have friends in the media, sometimes you don't have to say anything.
Right. So it would appear Zeke's camp is the one that released to Josina Anderson, hey, I told them about this in January, but he's not on video. We don't have his voice. We can't officially ascribe it to him. But what I'd be saying if I were Zeke, because I have trouble not talking even when I shouldn't sometimes, is, hey, you want to know what the cautionary tale is? It's what happened to the Steelers last year. Hey, with Le'Veon Bell. The cautionary tale is not overpaying for a guy. The cautionary tale is not paying a guy, have him not show up, and a team that went 13-3 the year before misses the playoffs the next year, even with a good backup running back, which we don't know if Dallas has. So, I mean, you can play both sides of this, man. You can talk about the Rams, whether or not they feel good about Gurley. And by the way, we shouldn't act like Todd Gurley had a career-ending injury. We don't know what Todd Gurley's going to look like this year. We're just apprehensive about it because of the final month of the season. We do know what the Steelers looked like last year without Le'Veon Bell.
One thing the Cowboys do have in common with the Pittsburgh Steelers, their ownership, their management, they got serious concerns about the running back more off the field than they do on the field. The reason why Pittsburgh didn't give him the deal, even the friendly deal that the Jets were able to give Le'Veon Bell. Him and Zeke have that in common, and I believe that affected the money. Todd Gurley, no issues. He got an issue with his knee, but nothing as far as his character.
Right. And timing is an issue. This is a team that can win right now if all 3 of these pieces are in place, and the last thing I'm sure the Joneses want to do is start a season without one of their 3 cogs. All right, we'll take a break. Coming up is 2019, going to be a bounce-back season for Big Ben and the aforementioned Steelers. That's next on FS1, and you can always check us out on the Fox Sports channel on SiriusXM. We'll be right back. The college football season kicks off in less than 3 weeks. We're coming off an amazing year in which Kyler Murray took the world by storm. See, you were golfing yesterday with someone who knows a thing or two about college football. You took a little break to preview the season. Thank you. I needed the preview. Take a look.
Welcome to Upper Montclair Country Club. Like, I'm the member here. You're the member.
That's right.
We're your invited guest.
That's right.
My main guy.
My main man.
Gus Johnson. College football, college basketball, voice of reason. Dicker, the kicker.
Dicker, the kicker.
All right, give us a little summer preview of what we're looking for in college football.
The Ohio State University.
Yes.
You ever heard of that school?
Yes, with the transfer from
That's
Georgia.
Right. That's right.
Justin Fields, who's going to be a dynamic quarterback.
Yep.
I think he is a better version of Braxton Miller.
Well, Braxton Miller was a terrific player, terrific quarterback at Ohio State. But I'm interested in seeing what the new coach is going to do. Urban Meyer is gone now.
Ryan
He's
Day.
working with us. And Coach Day has got a lot of talent.
They got a lot of talent.
Right. So I think Ohio State is going to be there in the end. Don't sleep on the Michigan Wolverines.
Oh, okay.
What's up with that?
Okay.
What's up with that, son? Shea Patterson.
They might.
Jim Harbaugh.
They might want to play Ohio State now because Urban Meyer going. Because God knows.
You know, y'all got
he's
trouble.
scared
You got to
of
come to Ann Arbor this year.
You know what, Jim Harbaugh? He stooped so low this offseason. He's just talking about wherever Urban Meyer go is trouble. Well, you know something?
Yeah.
There's still trouble.
There's still trouble.
The Buckeyes waiting for the big blue. That's your
man.
That's your college football preview.
He's taking so much money from
Joel
me
Klatt.
today, you know?
Bye-bye, man. I'm coming to get you.
That's my man.
These guys, by the way, played 27 yesterday. Very, very impressive. You guys have fun?
Oh, had a great time. He also says watch out for Oklahoma and Georgia. If you look at the teams that faced against Alabama, Clemson's been one team that had success. Georgia, if they could finish one of those two games, they had Alabama defeated twice late.
And remember, Oklahoma now has the national champion quarterback of Alabama, formerly Jalen Hurts. So that should be very
And I know
interesting.
particularly you're rooting for him.
I mean, I am. I liked how he handled himself. I think he handled it a hell of a lot better at 20 years old than I would have at 30-something years old. The level of disappointment of having your job taken from you. So I think he's going to, him under Lincoln Riley, man. Lincoln Riley's had some pretty good success recently with quarterbacks there, so should be exciting.
And Joe Klatt, you're safe, man. I got my team.
Oh,
We're
okay.
square.
Good stuff. That's all I was really waiting to get to.
You take some money off Gus yesterday?
Well, you know.
Okay. Oh!
Back to the show. We'll talk Big Ben and the Steelers in a second, but first, SC30 Select Champ Steph Curry gets diced up by high school class of 2021 center Chet Holmgren. Good moves by the 7-footer.
There's a 7-footer at Steph Curry's camp, and he just mixes Steph at his own camp. This is great, man. That's a 7-footer just making moves. Now, he might need to put on a little weight.
You think?
Wait, he's 2 years away from high school graduation. Oh, the weight's going to come. He's getting ready to make a lot of money.
Orioles and Yankees and Mike Tauchman robbing a home run at the wall. There's the robbing.
Great timing here.
Focus.
He brings us. This was probably in the second row. Oh, nice. Right off the fans. The fan's hands was right against his glove. Great catch.
Come on, Oriole fans. You can't let him do that. Oh, it's all Yankee fans. That game was in Baltimore.
All right, Bengals, training camp, wideout Tyler Boyd, the 180 spin to haul in the catch.
Oh, this is one of the great rules in the slot, Nick. When you run the post corner, if the cornerback anticipates the corner, the quarterback's going to throw it at the back of your helmet. He's not going to be able to see it. It's called a back shoulder in the end zone on a corner route. No defense for that.
He's fresh off a 4-year, $43 million extension. They're going to need him with A.J. Green dealing with some injuries.
Yeah, that'd be one of the few highlights we're going to be showing for the Bengals this year.
Ben Roethlisberger is getting ready to start his 16th season at the ripe young age of 37. While he has clearly seen a lot of changes to this team, Big Ben remains the constant there. His tight end, Vance McDonald, is impressed with what he's seen, said, quote, "He's the best there is. I believe it when he says that he's going to be the best he's ever been this year." This is only the second camp that I've been to with him, and just his whole approach and demeanor is completely different this year. I think he's ready and willing to do everything that it takes to win another championship. All right, see, what does Big Ben need to do to put the Steelers back into contention after what happened last season?
Well, I'm not going to put it all on Ben. The Pittsburgh Steelers, for the last several years, have not had the type of defense that would say, are they a championship contender? Because several of those seasons, they did have the offense. They did have an offense that scored enough points, didn't turn the ball over enough. Because sometimes when you're an offense, you take a lot of chances. They turned the ball over some, but it wasn't enough that they couldn't be a top 10 offense. If you have a top 10 offense, if your defense is in the top 15, you're going to win a lot of football games. They have not been the fearsome Pittsburgh Steelers defense that we're used to seeing. That's been one of the surprises. Lack of overall discipline by Mike Tomlin, who seems to be a disciplinarian, and the lack of teeth that this defense has in that division that is super tough. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, get your defense fixed first. Get your linebacking crew fixed first. present a consistent pass rush. Ben Roethlisberger is going to do what he's got to do. Does he have tremendous challenges? Absolutely. But his ability to make all the wide receivers feel comfortable, I think that's his responsibility. Because when you don't have a lot of accomplished wide receivers, you have to kind of give them a false bravado. You have to try to help them have some type of swag. Because ain't no one of the receivers, Juju, people respect him a little bit, but the rest of them, there's no respect. They're going to get a lot of man-to-man. They're going to get a lot of defenses that say, I don't respect you. And it's going to be very important that Ben, his messaging is very consistent, because regardless of what you want to see, most of these young receivers saw the relationship between him and AB. And I can understand Vance speaking up for his boy, the quarterback, but it's only his second year being there. But he noticed a drastic difference. To me, I hope Ben continues to be self-aware, because I'm sure he realized what happened, and a lot what went on. He could have helped the situation, and he ultimately was part of the problem, but him and Tomlin are the two there. L. Bell's gone. AB is gone. So Ben, as you can see through his teammates, I'm sure that he's made some drastic changes of how he's going about the rest of his career.
You and I didn't talk about this before the show, but you touched on something that was exactly where I was going to go, which is these two young receivers. Because listen, I feel like I know what Eli Rodgers is in the NFL. I feel like I have a pretty good idea what Dante Moncrief is in the NFL. But Deontay Johnson, who they spent a third-round pick on in this year's draft. By the way, the Steelers have turned third-round picks at wide receiver into stars throughout the years. And this is a guy that had a 1,300-yard, 13-touchdown season in college at Toledo. Can Big Ben get a relationship with him and convince him, get his confidence to a level, say, man, we know the level of player you can be. That's why we drafted you into this organization that does nothing but draft receivers and turn them into great players. James Washington, who was on the wrong side of Ben Roethlisberger for part of last year, his final year at Oklahoma State had 1,500-yard, 13-touchdown season. These were highly productive collegiate receivers that Big Ben needs to tap into part of their psyche almost to help them regain that level of confidence, because to me, both those guys have more upside than the potential 2-3 on the team right now in Eli Rodgers and Dante Moncrief.
But the problem with that, as you pointed out, James Washington, those college stats, a lot of times they don't transfer to the pros. In the Pac-10, there's not a whole bunch of cornerbacks that are moving into the NFL in the first couple rounds. I know in the MAC conference where Toledo plays, there's no corners that are playing in the NFL that he's going against. So the jump in competition, transitioning from college to the pro game at wide receiver is one of the toughest transitions. That's why I'm always a little bit leery as far as what are going to be the results, even when you have a veteran quarterback. I would much rather have a hodgepodge of veteran guys than a whole room full of young guys with no real leader in that room.
And you said the Pac-12. James Washington, you meant the Big 12, where there's no corners, where he's from Oklahoma State. But the point remains, like, that is fair. You see a lot of receivers come out of that conference. Not a lot of corners come out of that conference.
And we see a lot of receivers have 1,500, 1,600 yards, 10 touchdowns, 12 touchdown seasons.
And then, and doesn't translate fully to the NFL.
But then as far as Ben Roethlisberger goes, you have to imagine that maybe some of what we're seeing is this refreshing, renewed sense of optimism that, all right, we're coming in. Maybe the distractions left last year with now Lev Bell playing and Antonio Brown leaving. There's a sense now that this is my team again, and there's no more questions about who team this is. I just wonder how much of that plays into how successful he'll be.
Well, I think that could help. But what needs to happen first and foremost is the two things Cris pointed out. Stop throwing to the other team and stop throwing people under the bus. Like, you can't lead the league in interceptions, and you can't blame other people for mistakes, even if they are their mistakes. Because if you're the adult and it's a bunch of kids, guess what? It's the responsibility of the adult. The buck stops with me on the field. Off the field, it can be Tomlin. If they have locker room mayhem, that's Tomlin. But Big Ben has gone the other way on that a lot of the times. Big Ben has gone where even his own mistakes, he blames others. If one of these young guys runs a wrong route and he's asked about it and it results in an interception, Big Ben needs to take that on him, even if it's unfair, because that's what the majority of quarterbacks in this league do.
Regardless of the turnover, typically we're getting 30 to 35% turnover on each team every year. But the veteran quarterbacks, the ones we brag about, that have really opened up this window of the greatest throwers ever, a lot of it's because we got 4 or 5 guys over 37. Eli, he's the man on the Giants. The Giants always say that. Phillip Rivers is the man on the Chargers. Drew Brees, Tom Brady, they're all the men. For us to think someone left and now it's Ben Roethlisberger, no. It's been Ben's team. Since Jerome Bettis left, after Hines Ward left, it's been Ben's team. The team reiterated that. He's not here. He's not here. It's always been his team. It's up to Ben to be able to make those adjustments late in his career to be able to provide the type of leadership that this young football team is dependent on him for.
All right, let's take a break there. Coming up, talk some Cowboys. Does Dak need Zeke more or Amari more in order to be successful? That's next on First Things First. On Saturday, it's a doubleheader on FS1. First, Bryce Harper powers the Phillies against the Giants. Then Nolan Arenado and the Rockies take on Manny Machado and the Padres. Coverage begins at 3 Eastern, noon Pacific on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. All right, time for us to go viral. Check out Aaron Rodgers, the impressive one-handed catches at training camp. If there's anything A-Rod can't do, and not to be outdone, Saquon Barkley flipping rolls to show off his arm and accuracy. Reports are he just jumped Daniel Jones on the depth chart.
That's pretty impressive from Saquon, that accuracy, right? Or am I overselling it, see?
Well, he had 3 holes. The object is to hit the big net. They just got the one on video that went in the...
Oh, you don't think he was aiming for that one right there?
You almost made me cuss.
Okay. I think Saquon called his shot, Babe Ruth style. Going right there, dead center.
Forget
First
the pass.
try.
Look at those legs on that kid.
Well, yeah, that's what, I mean, he's got the chain that does say quads. That's what he's known for.
Jenna, I watched one of his workouts. He bear crawled for 2 miles, Jenna.
Jenna, show America your hand.
I cut up my hand yesterday.
Jenna bear crawled for a mile. Thought that was a good idea.
No, I got half a mile and I stopped because I cut my hand up. We're going to go back at it again because that's what we do, see. Me and Saquon, time for stories to start your morning. The NCAA has officially added criteria for agents who wish to represent student athletes testing the waters for the NBA draft. That criteria now includes a bachelor's degree. LeBron James referred to this new rule as the Rich Paul rule because his super agent does not have a bachelor's degree. Nick, what do you make of this move by the NCAA?
It's outrageous, it's unnecessary, it's insulting, it's classist, it's elitist, all of these things. Having a college degree certainly helps you in a lot of fields. It should not be a prerequisite for basically any field other than law or medicine. And this won't affect Rich. Rich has enough agents with him and with Clutch Sports and now with UTA to where plenty of them have a degree. This is about targeting the next Rich Paul and preventing the next Rich Paul from becoming the most powerful agent in basketball as Rich has. But it's offensive and it's an outrage. The NCAA thinks this is necessary, that they could get away with this.
Nick, you know I've been offered a college job.
Yeah.
You know I don't have a degree.
Right.
So I could coach the kids.
You can coach exactly right. And who would be more equipped than you or me to coach kids, to help mentor young people?
I have respect for a college degree, but there's also a thing called life experience that might be more valuable. And the record shows there's too many people that have succeeded without a degree. To me, the NCAA, not one of my favorite institutions, but this right here, this is what you call institutional racism.
Well, they're absolutely correct. 100%, Chris.
All right, moving on to the NFL now. Cowboys executive VP Stephen Jones says that it was, quote, news to us that Zeke won't play without a new contract. However, he also said that it doesn't change anything in their negotiations. CC, you think Zeke will actually miss the entire season or part of the season if he doesn't get a new deal?
I definitely think it's out for him to miss the whole season. It doesn't benefit a player that has a contract. He doesn't advance 1 year towards free agency. But I do believe that he'll miss time because Jerry Jones is not to be fooled with from negotiations, and Jerry Jones has the leverage. They have a good football team because Zeke, he just left the principal's office talking to Roger Goodell. If he had more information, Zeke could have been suspended for a whole season. So how are you going to get max dollar when you're jeopardized by one more public mishap.
Yeah.
Yep, one more of those, and you could be gone for a year.
See, you mentioned Jerry Jones. Right now Zeke's negotiating with Jerry Jones. When the NFL is negotiating with television partners or in the CBA, who's one of their go-to owners when it comes to hardline negotiations?
Jerry Jones and Robert Kraft are one of the first few phone calls that they always make to get financial advice. If the NFL had one owner negotiating on their behalf, they would send Jerry Jones to do it.
I bring it up because, like, we kind of laugh at Jerry sometimes because he talks a lot and he has a funny accent and he has little colloquialisms that are fun, but don't question the guy's business acumen when it comes to these.
And the last time he told him, you kneel on that line, you won't play for the Cowboys. And no Cowboy decided to test him in that.
All right, moving on. Patriots quarterback Tom Brady is looking for a new home, and we mean that literally. He put his Boston area home on the market after the news that his contract will void after this season. Nick, is this a big deal?
It's a deal. It's something. Putting the $40 million home up for sale in Brookline, Mass. Tom Brady is making it so, hey, I'm not under contract after this season. Who knows? I could not have a home in the area after this season. He doesn't have two homes in Massachusetts. The closest secondary home he has to the Patriots facility is 3 hours away. So I don't think the timing's coincidental. I don't think it's right when he finds out he doesn't have a contract for next season, the home goes on the market. There's some real palace intrigue with the New England Patriots.
There's no intrigue here. He might move to my neighborhood. He's looking Alpine, where Chris Canty lives, looking at also in Greenwich. But, Nick, he's got kids, all right? And if he's going to play football in the fall, you like to keep your kids in the same school with the same students. So his house being up for sale, even if someone said, yeah, Tom, I'll give you $40 million. I'll pay above sticker today. It's going to be 9 months to a year before you move in.
Yeah, of course.
So
right around the time free agency next year.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all.
I wouldn't be concerned about this.
Just keep an eye on it, America.
All right. Todd Gurley gets a lot of attention as the key focal point of the Rams offense. But don't forget about the receivers. Robert Wood says that the Rams wideouts are a four-headed monster. CC, what's the biggest key to the Rams getting back to the Super Bowl now?
I like Robert Woods. He's really developing. Last year, man, they had the two-headed monster between him and Brandon Cooks. Their ability to be able to run different routes, especially with him running the intermediate and Brandon being more of the deep threat for them. But they have to grow their game. Last year when Todd Gurley was injured, when he wasn't up to 100%, this offense suffered, and you could see it. So you can see them developing their playmakers. But for me, I like a wide receiving core. I typically say a basketball team. So there's no four-man basketball. You need another one. You need another player, and I think that the lack of their tight end being involved in the offense, it hurt them. I know from talking to people who have information on how New England game planned, they specifically knew they were not going to utilize the tight end, so it's like you were only preparing for 10 guys on their offense. If the coach does not get that part figured out, it will hinder the growth of this young and emerging wide receiving core.
Here's the concern for the Rams. In 2017, if you look at games lost to injury, they were the healthiest team in the NFL. Last year, games lost to injury on offense, they were the second healthiest team in the NFL. The only substantial injury they suffered during the regular season was to Cooper Kupp. And by the way, that one injury they couldn't sustain. The moment Cooper Kupp went down, Jared Goff went from being one of the best quarterbacks in the league statistically to above average. Then in the playoffs, you saw Todd Gurley not be 100%, and you saw their offense really grind to a halt. The Rams clearly, when everything is operating at peak capacity, are a juggernaut offensively. When they're getting to the line of scrimmage quick, when McVay's in Goff's ear, when they've got their three wide receivers and a healthy Todd Gurley, that team can go hang 54 points on national TV, as we saw them do on the Kansas City Chiefs. That team can go score 30-plus points a game. But because they don't have a lot of diversity in formation, because they are the most predominant one running back, one tight end, three receiver set team, as soon as part of that puzzle, part of that formula almost is changed, they didn't show you that they had a second or third pitch. That's the concern, not to mention that big-name defense statistically last year was league average, and it won't have quite as much talent this year as it did last year.
And then that other concern is what about Jared Goff? Just because Jared Goff is somewhat in that Dak Prescott boat where you're not really sure who he is based on who else is on the field. Is Jared Goff the same player if Todd Gurley's not 100%, if he doesn't have his receivers out there at 100%?
Well, Jared Goff, to me, is a better quarterback than Dak Prescott. And the reason why, he can throw the ball. He has more variety. He has a stronger arm. He has better timing, better anticipation. And the thing about with Kupp, the thing about Goff, he gets a lot of criticism. Yes, he did suffer when Cooper Kupp went out of the lineup. But if you look at the numbers, he actually had a higher quarterback rating with C.J. Anderson on the field than Todd Gurley. So I know people talk about him an awful lot, but the numbers sometimes don't back up what they're talking about. Dak, his numbers suffer. When Zeke is out of the lineup, his numbers go down by 10 points. All right? Goff, that's not the case. Cooper Kupp was the only player that you can say when he went out, his numbers suffer. So he continues to grow as a quarterback. I believe it's up to the offense to be more creative, to be able to help the quarterback. But as a passer, I will take him over Dak Prescott any day.
All right, speaking of Dak Prescott, back to the Cowboys now. The team has yet to agree to extension for 3 of their offensive stars, one of which is Dak. And which of those 3 should be prioritized? Many believe Zeke is the most important player to Dallas' success. The Cowboys reporter Todd Archer believes that Dak needs Amari Cooper more because, quote, points come in the passing game. All right, Nick, who does Dak need more in order to be successful? Is it Amari Cooper or is it Ezekiel Elliott?
Todd Archer, Cowboys reporter. So listen, this is where my friends in the analytics community, my friends that try to embrace the analytics, they're going to get us in trouble here. Because
oh, that's what he was doing?
Well, the points come in the passing game are what is in vogue right now and what is accurate is just score the football in the NFL throwing it. What did Troy Vincent sit here yesterday said? It's points, passing, penalties, or plays, passing, penalties, figure out your points. All of that is true. But you have to understand the circumstances in which those points come and those plays are run. Yes, Dak Prescott needs Amari Cooper to be the best version of himself. We saw that unequivocally. But we didn't see Dak and Amari ever play without Zeke. We didn't ever see what they would look like if they know the number one weapon, the number one option for the Cowboys is Amari Cooper because Zeke's off the field out of the game. When Zeke missed time is before Amari was on the Cowboys. There are general rules to follow if you're talking about the generic NFL team. And then you look at specific NFL teams and say, does it apply here 100%? With the Cowboys, it simply does not. The best player on their team is a running back. The most dangerous player on their team is a running back. They have a team built specifically for a running back to be as great as Zeke is because of their all-pro offensive linemen and their limitations at quarterback. So, I am with the analytics revolution coming to the NFL and people recognizing you don't have to throw to set up play action, that throwing on first down is the most beneficial thing to do. All those things in general are true, but it doesn't mean they are true across the board. And acting like they're true for a team with limitations at quarterback, one solid wide receiver that we know of, and the best running back in football, I don't believe that's true. So with respect to Todd Archer and my friends of Football Outsiders, for the Cowboys might be the exception that disprove the rule in this one instance.
Jenna, analytics are in the NFL. The analytics have been in the NFL for 30 years. I don't know what they called them. Because when you get in the goal line region, Jenna, there's 4 gaps to the right of the center. There's 4 gaps to the left of the center. You know what the defense does, Jenna? They put a guy in every one of those gaps, and they still got 3 guys free. So you can't block them. When the quarterback has the ball, and typically he's not a runner, so that's not analytics. That's just counting the numbers. In the NFL, no one wants to be run on, all right? It's a personality. It's a machoism. It's a thing in the NFL. They would much rather throw it on you. So when you get in the red zone, they invite you to throw the football. So as long as I've been associated with the NFL, which has been since 1987, you have been able to move the ball between the 20s, running the football, and you throw it to be able to score the football. So it's not new to the NFL. That's just an old phrase. He tried to dress up. But that's the way you score the football in the NFL because the overall philosophy of it. Zeke is the best player. If Dallas had Russell Wilson as their quarterback and they wanted to up their passing game, I would be like, oh, okay, all right, because Russ is a better runner than Dak. And then I'd have been like, oh, okay, Amari and Dak might be able to run a little bit more to augment that running game that you're missing with Zeke. But no, the Dallas Cowboys, outside of Jerry and his son, the most important Cowboy happened to be Ezekiel Elliott.
And even in 2019, if the Cowboys, poof, weren't a franchise anymore and every player on the team were a free agent, is there a team in the league that if they said, hey, you can have either Zeke or Amari, is there a team in the league that would say I want Amari, not Zeke? I don't think so. You can maybe
the Jets.
The Jets, maybe the Giants, because they already have Saquon and they need wide receivers.
Yep.
Like there's.
So if this is so clearly siding with Zeke, and he's so clearly the best player and the most important player, why doesn't Jerry Jones say, fine, just give him the money, we'll figure the other two out later, because this is where we want to center our franchise?
Because Jerry Jones is a friendly owner, but he is a nasty, nasty negotiator. And Jerry knows this. He knows that Zeke is one mishap from being suspended for a whole year. So Zeke, what he thinks his value to the team is when we talk X's and O's, but the number one talent you have, I repeat it on this show all the time, is availability. L. Bell, the reason why the Steelers were not apt to give him $40 million guaranteed, they knew he had already flunked a couple drug tests. He's one more positive test from missing significant amount of time. So these are things that people aren't calculating with Jerry. They just think Jerry, they take Jerry for granted. They hear his sound bites and everything. But I know this, and I know people in the league, they know that Jerry Jones is in a class one of one, Nick.
One of one.
As far as nasty negotiator, as far as toeing the line, like he is not one to back down, and he has shown time after time, if you make him say who the boss is, and that's what he's going to do to Ezekiel Elliott, because he has the power and the upper hand in this negotiation.
And I just want to circle back to one other thing, because you said something I think that's interesting and I think that should be amplified, which is in the NFL, as long as you've been around it, guys, teams don't want to be run on.
No.
That it's emotionally, it feels different than if a team hits you for a big passing game. And it are things like that that are real, that you can't talk to 100 football players, have 100 of them tell you the same thing, and then say, well, the numbers say this. And nobody likes the numbers more than me. But it's spending enough time with you over the last 3 years, spending enough time with other football guests, it is not just an equation you can punch into it. There has to be a little art to go along with the science. The sport where analytics came into prominence the most in the first was baseball, because that almost is science. It's one-on-one battles where, guys, it can be 25 players, 25 cabs. Football, the reason it's the furthest along from there is because so much of it is almost an 11-person ballet that involves the personalities, that involves the mentality, so many things. And so when it comes to things like this, you have to incorporate what the actual people who've done it are saying. And what the actual people who've done it are saying is, if he's the best player on your team, and if he can take the heart from your defense, even if 4.5 yards per carry is not as good as 7.5 yards per pass, it has an effect on winning that is hard to quantify simply numerically. And I still think teams should rely on the numbers more than they do, but you can't do it just by that. And the eye test says Zeke's the most important Cowboy. The players tell you Zeke's the most important Cowboy. We'll see if the Cowboys' pocketbook tells you Zeke's the most important Cowboy.
All right, this isn't going away anytime soon. Coming up, should Todd Gurley's deal be a cautionary tale for the Cowboys while negotiating with Zeke? That's still ahead on First Things First. Back here, First Things First, with Coach Eric Mangini. Hey,
What
Coach.
up, Coach?
How are you?
Good to see you, my
everybody.
friend.
What's up?
Yeah, nice sneeze about 10 minutes.
I washed my hands since then. It's just a
Jenna?
sneeze. I'm allergic to Jenna's perfume.
That is, first of all, none of that is true except the gross sneeze. That's all we got. Coach, it's great to have you here. Hope you stay healthy.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk some Green Bay Packers.
Jenna's got
Coach
a
was
very
balling with
pungent
Ty Law this
perfume.
That is
weekend.
not what Jenna had.
Bottles up, VIP.
We keep it real. In Canton, Ohio, that's how we roll.
That's what it do. See?
Come on out, check it out.
The team clearly needed a new direction after missing the playoffs in back-to-back seasons. Aaron Rodgers clearly needed a new voice at the top. Enter new head coach Matt LaFleur. And much like there was with former head coach Mike McCarthy, there are still lingering questions about about the chemistry between coach and quarterback. Even Brett Favre weighed in on the dynamic between the two, said, I would be a little bit fearful of every coach wants to put his own stamp on things. They may say one thing, and a lot of times they do the other. We're going to focus on Aaron. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to keep things the same for the most part. But then that's not necessarily true. I don't know if you want to necessarily change much when it's been working. And Aaron's been working. Coach, what do you think will it take? What will it take for the Rodgers-LaFleur dynamic to actually be successful?
Well, I agree with Brett Favre. And in bringing Brett Favre to New York, when we did, one of the things that I felt was important, and we had a system in place, but I wanted to make sure that we gave Brett the things that he did that made him as successful as he was, because he had a tremendous amount of success for a long time. And for us to suddenly bring him in and say, okay, all that's great, but you're going to just do it this way, I don't think that's good business. I don't think that's the best use of a guy's talents. Now, that being said, there is an element of these are other things that we want to do and we feel is important, and there's got to be some give and take. And I felt that Brett did a good job with that. We tried to cater things to him, but he also really worked to do things the way that we wanted to do in other areas. So there was good give and take. Now, where I'm curious or concerned about this relationship is the comments about working against other teams that just came out. And where he says, Aaron says, I don't want to work with another team for the next 14 years or 17 years or however long it was.
He said 14 years. He said if he doesn't have another joint practice for the next 14 years, it'll be fine.
Yeah, and LaFleur and that Rams system, they really love practicing with other teams because they don't play anybody in the preseason. So that's the way that they get the starters their preseason work in a controlled environment, and there's a rationale behind it, and you can get some really good things from it.
No doubt.
So there's no need to come out and say, look, if you don't like it, okay, that's fine. But then he follows it up with, well, this guy got blown up and that guy got blown up, and I'm sure the NFLPA is going to take a look at the way that we did this drill. And that, to me, is now we're going to another place. Now you're stirring things up that it's just unnecessary, and that could all be addressed in-house.
And listen, Aaron Rodgers is probably going to talk a little more about a little more diversity of things than you would like and than a lot of people would like, because that's who Aaron's been. And I think that is potentially a separate issue than the one about he and his relationship with Matt LaFleur and Matt LaFleur's play calling and how much Matt LaFleur is going to bend his system and how much Aaron Rodgers is going to bend what he's done for 14 years or for 11 years as a starter that's made him as successful as he's been. And so I also, in this article about Favre's interview, they also mentioned the 2003 season for Brett Favre, which was the year he had the best running game he ever had. Amon Green went for 1,800 yards that year, I think 17, 18 touchdowns. And Favre that year, highest completion percentage of his career, led the NFL in touchdown passes despite having one of the fewest total yards passing he's had any year of his career. And that, to me, is as instructive of anything in the interview, which is how can Matt LaFleur help Aaron Rodgers? Well, with the Titans, they ran the ball nearly 50% of the time. Last year, the Packers ran at 32%, the lowest in the NFL. Can Matt LaFleur bring more balance to the Packers running game, to the Packers offense, take more pressure off Aaron Rodgers so Aaron Rodgers can still be great, but that's not their only path to victory. I think that is instructive in this as well, because I think once they get to the line of scrimmage, if Aaron Rodgers wants to audible, he's probably going to audible. If Aaron Rodgers thinks there's something he sees in the defense that he doesn't want to wait, as you would talk about, till the series is over to look at the pictures to discuss, he's probably going to change that then and there. So where can LaFleur help him in other spots? Where can LaFleur help the offense in other spots? That, to me, will determine as much as anything whether or not this partnership's going to be successful.
I'm going to address the first part, the one that was most annoying to me, and that was the part about the practices. And let you know, Aaron Rodgers does not know how to put a football team together. I would much rather get on a bus, which we used to do in Minnesota, and go to River Falls and practice against Tony Dungy and the Kansas City Chiefs. Man, they had two cornerbacks that would, if you weren't ready to practice, Albert Lewis and
was it Dale
Ross?
Ross.
Kevin Ross.
Kevin Ross.
Oh, my goodness. If you weren't ready to practice, in 7-on-7, they played 25 snaps of bump and run. Tony Dungy's running their defense. Herm Edwards is their defensive back coach. So not only in those times that I go against some of the better DBs, but I had these great coaches critiquing my game, letting me know ways that I might be able to improve, discussions that I would have. We would sit down for lunch, and I used to tell guys, take 2 Advil before the first practice, take 2 Advil before the second practice, because these practices are more taxing than any other NFL practices. And I saw how you can develop. They've taken hitting out of football. They're practicing less. They've made this game so easy for the quarterbacks. But Aaron Rodgers just let me know. He does not know the physicality that you have to have putting a team together and the speed for which you can practice against the opposition. That's the way you break up 6 weeks of training camp. This is going to be problems for Matt LaFleur. All right? I can tell y'all right now, because Brett Favre, when you got him, he was well seasoned. But John Gruden, as a quarterback coach, and Mike Holmgren will tell you, man, Brett Favre gave them nightmares. And he did the opposite sometime of what they told him to do. And Aaron Rodgers has it in him. Matt LaFleur, this is going to be tough. To me, this is just about a running game. Green Bay is trying to be physical on the defensive side. Can they be physical on the offensive side? Last year, it was impossible. Only 4 games, they rushed the ball for 25 more attempts. Only the Atlanta Falcons were worse than them. So if Matt LaFleur is going to help Aaron Rodgers will let him dictate what they're going to run, give Aaron some flexibility inside the offense, but just because you have a golden arm doesn't make you the voice of the franchise and how we're going to put this franchise together.
The preseason hasn't even started yet, and we're already discussing issues that could potentially be there between these two. And don't forget, Matt LaFleur is only, 2-3 years older than Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers has this resume of so much work underneath him. How much is this going to be about Matt LaFleur legitimizing himself as a head coach within that organization and to Aaron Rodgers?
That's a big part of this. And what I learned in the NFL as a young coach, and I was a DB coach at 28 and a coordinator not too far after that, is that guys will listen to you as long as you're showing that you can help them be successful. It doesn't matter whether you're old, whether you're young, what you look like, where you come from. If you can show the players that you can give them information and help to make them become better, then they will listen to everything you have to say, and they'll be fantastic. But if you don't show that technical competency, it's going to be really hard. And players are inherently cynical of coaches and new ideas, and they want to see, okay, how is this getting me better? How is this getting us better? But you got to give everybody a chance. This is an arranged marriage, and I get that, but it's a marriage. They are married at least for 1 year, probably at least 2 years, I would imagine.
I think Rodgers would hope for the rest of his career. It's in Rodgers' interest for them not to make a coaching change the rest of his career.
But judging by what he's saying,
I don't think so.
He's not hoping for that.
But hold on. When you say judging by what he's saying, the joint practice isn't an attack on the coach. Like that's you say we're already talking about it because we talk about everything. But
the coach went and said the practices were great. It's great preparation to get ready for the season. Then you got your star quarterback saying, miss me with it. Miss me. I've been here 14 years, and if I don't have to ever come back to one of these, so it is. There is a conflict.
And when you start saying, well, I'm sure the NFLPA is going to want to look into this, I mean, you're inviting scrutiny, essentially saying these things weren't run the right way.
Yeah, they had one player going against the Packer that took a couple cheap shots on him, and the coaches threw him out of practices. It was held the right way. It's not the first guy to get thrown out of a practice.
All right. Coach, stick around. Take a break coming up. Tom Brady's selling his house in Boston. You got $40 million? Do you want to just...
He does, but he's
holding
it for something different.
Not on me.
Is this a sign he's preparing to leave the Pats? We'll discuss that next on First Things First.
I'll have to walk back to the hotel to get that.
Is right, you left
I know you got it on me.
Yeah, coach's salaries used to be public. You can Google those things.
Back here with Coach Mangini, we are going viral. Check out these Niner rookies looking to make a name for themselves. Oh, battling in some scooter jousting.
Oh.
Coach, I would imagine this is the perfect way for a rookie to make a roster.
Yeah, I don't know whose idea that is. I wonder how that's covered if they get injured in their contract. Is that covered for...
Yeah, they're out there because I see some coaches in the background, like the beginning of a special teams practice or something.
So, yeah, I wonder if they tape that and show that.
I know you couldn't have that on Dennis Green's field. I know that.
Yeah, there's not a lot of fields I've seen that on. But
I'm sure Belichick would love
That's the recipe to win 12 games right there.
Nobody can have fun.
Every team. Let's do it.
And, you know, Nick
Fun
is
killers.
dying. Nick's like,
No, I'm not dying.
Why can't everybody just have fun?
It's not why can't everybody have fun. Why can no one have a second of fun?
You're jousting before what if someone gets hurt? Like on the off.
You're going to put an eye out. Oh, my God.
What if he twists his ankle, though?
But
your body's your moneymaker.
I get it.
No, you don't.
I do.
No, you don't. Your body's more important than having a little fun.
Okay, I get it. And the coaches, as you guys mentioned, who are out there, decided for one reason or another, this will be okay. And it looks like no one got hurt.
But if someone did get hurt, there'd be people getting fired for this.
I have
and
seen.
It would be like 20 segments.
Nick, I have seen so many bouts of fun.
That end terribly?
I guarantee I've had more fun in the NFL locker room than you.
That's correct. Right. And you ended up where? In the Hall of Fame. You were okay.
It wasn't because of the fun, though.
But it didn't prevent you. You were okay. You guys did all those crazy, man. You've told me these stories. Come on.
I know a bunch of people got hurt, Nick.
Yeah.
Listen, no one's more fun than Coach.
Yeah,
so
and we
next
got
break,
guys
we'll hear
around
about
like
all
you.
your
That's
crazy
a lot of
stories.
injuries.
On to the Patriots
And you know
now.
you bruise easy.
Hey, over the weekend, Tom Brady signed a 2-year extension that actually isn't an extension. He signed a non-extension extension, if you will, one that makes him a free agent after this season. Well, then word came out that 4th-round draft pick Jarrett Stidham, the young quarterback, is reportedly turning heads in training camp. And then word came out that Tom and Giselle just put their Boston area house on the market. It's a lot of words. Coach, any chance the Patriots move on from Brady or Brady moves on from the Patriots after this season?
Yeah, there's always a chance that can happen. And I got to see Cris this weekend at the Hall of Fame, and I also saw a bunch of other great Patriots at the Hall of Fame. I saw Ty Law and Lawyer Malloy and Otis Smith, Richard Seymour, and all those guys, they moved on from. And they moved on. You know, Lawyer we cut at the end of training camp.
Right, like a few days before the regular season.
Right, and he went to the Bills.
And they whooped you week 1.
Yeah, and then we won the Super Bowl.
True.
Yeah, it is.
None of them are Tom Brady.
Huge. We got crushed.
It was 30-0.
Anyway,
yeah,
boys,
we went 14-2.
let's just move on.
So, but one of the great things, if you want to view it as great, is Bill's ability to look at things from an economics perspective, from a cold, calculating what's in the best interest of the team perspective.
Coach, does he think like us?
No. He may think like you and I. It's much more of can he help us?
But the emotion
can he help
is not
us win?
there.
No. It's. I remember when we released Otis Smith, and I was shocked. I thought Otis was definitely Otis, fantastic guy, and it was one of those business decisions that had to be made, and it was in the best interest of the team, is what Bill felt, and he has that ability. A lot of coaches will hold on to players for too long because there's nostalgia. You'll hear people say, of course they should pay him because of all that he's done for the organization. Of course they should do this because of all he's done for the organization. That's not the thought process there, and it helps them to move forward each year and make business decisions.
To me, the perfect example of it all is, and you were with the team when this happened, is Troy Brown. Troy Brown, 1 year you guys are down corners. He has he's a wide receiver with real money to make in contract incentives by playing as much wide receiver as possible. You guys press him into service as a cornerback. He ends up helping you guys win a Super Bowl. After that year, the Patriots call Troy Brown in and say, hey, you're under contract for next year, and we want you back next year. But looking around the league, you're going to make X. We think your market value is actually X minus a couple million. We're going to cut you and then try to re-sign you at a discount. He just helped them win a Super Bowl and left money on the table doing it, and yet that's exactly what they did, and he re-signed, and it was a cold, calculating way to do business, even though he had just sacrificed, and you'd won a championship in part because of it, right? Like that
it was. We asked a guy in year 12 who primarily played receiver, played defensive back, played 250 snaps. He ended up, unfortunately leading the team in interceptions. That's where we were at that point. But yeah, they were ready to move on. And there's a year, I think it was Troy, I forget who it was, where they were maybe 2 or 3 receptions away from hitting an incentive. And they played in the final game, but it was more of a, let's get out of this game. We ran the ball a ton. They didn't hit their incentive. And
That's
it wasn't, okay, we're going to give you the benefit of the doubt. You missed it by 2 or 3 reps. Here's your money.
But
it was the other way.
But here's why I find this specific instance so interesting. It's not just because it's Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback we've ever seen, and the guy who might be the greatest football player ever if such a distinction exists. It's because it's not only that he will be a free agent after this season unless they give him another new contract during the year. They can't franchise tag him. Like that's the other part of this is he will hit true unrestricted free agency. So this is a gamble by New England, a gamble that this does not anger Tom Brady to an extent that he's going to say, you know what, I take all these discounts, we win all these Super Bowls, we go to all these Super Bowls. The last 3 years, my resume is greatest Super Bowl comeback ever, league MVP, and then another Super Bowl. And you still won't give me security pass this year? Because with respect to Richard Seymour and Ty Law, all these players, none of them are me. None of them are Tom Brady. None of them have the legacy that I have here, and I still can't get 1 year past this year?
Nope.
And so, but that is a gamble. It's a gamble on their behalf, right?
It's not really. I mean, he's been there 19 years.
Everything is a gamble, Nick. But when you say everything that Tom Brady said, Tom Brady, how much leverage does he have? He said he don't want to play anywhere else. He said he wants to keep one uniform on the whole time. You think he's going to be getting back at Belichick? He decided to go to another team and learn a whole new system, have to go through off-season training, put his kids in another school, in another district, in another part of the country? You think Tom Brady's going to be like, oh, you know something? I'm going to get back at him. I think Tom's smarter than that. I'm going to give you 3 examples. Number 1 was one of my college teammates. Bill Belichick was an assistant coach. He sat next to Belichick, and you know this player, very good football player, a pro's pro. He sat next to Belichick every meeting. Belichick never spoke to him the whole year and had the utmost respect for him, like the utmost. Guy played several roles on the offense. I know 2 coaches. One sitting right here, and another one of my college teammates. Belichick let them go or allowed them to go other places, and you know what, Nick? Life moved on. You would think that all those years those guys had spent with that guy, that there would be something, an emotional attachment. He is not like us. He does not think like we do. And when we try to analyze New England, the thing that upsets me is people try to make them into something different. They try to put their ideology on top of New England. Rob Gronkowski. Oh, you know, that's the Patriot way. He's going to retire, take the offseason, lose 30 pounds, and you know what? Belichick's going to save a spot for him to come back in November. That's not the Belichick that I know. That's not the type of football that he teaches. So he's been consistent about this, and he is not going to change for any one person. If Belichick walks away from New England, it will be because he lost the power to be able to make all the football decisions.
Yeah, I know that as my mom has gotten older, she's gotten a little bit more set in her ways, and I can't imagine that Bill is changing as he gets older and as he has more and more success.
3 Super Bowls in a row. Oh, I'm getting ready to change.
Yeah,
no, I don't think so.
I think if anything, his philosophy has been reinforced and reinforced again and reinforced again, and there is a efficiency there by not having the emotion going into these decisions, which really allows them to make the right business decisions. And everybody else wants to do that, but he has that ability to remove emotion and just make the hardcore decision year after year after year. And look, could Tom be that part of that decision-making process? Yeah, the only thing that could change it is Robert Kraft.
What's the thing you always say when I say, oh, my feelings are hurt, or aren't you worried about how he's going to feel? You're
those are your feelings. Yeah, I ain't concerned about that. They'll get over themselves or whatever.
Those are your feelings.
Yes.
Coach, thanks for joining us today.
Your girlfriends didn't like that.
They didn't like that at all.
I'll be back, too.
I would hope Coach is coming back.
Either way.
Come back. Whatever. Coming up.
I'm emotionally attached to you, Coach.
I'm sorry.
Way to be hardcore, John.
So much. We'll talk some Steelers, Big Ben, AB next on First Things First. Welcome back. We'll get to Antonio Brown in just a second, but first, SC30 Select Camp. Steph Curry getting diced up by a high school class of 2021 center, Chet Holmgren. Nice moves by the 7-footer.
Those are really nice moves.
Oh, he got a nice handle.
Look
7
at those
feet.
Little ankles, see?
Put a little weight on him.
Worried about him.
Steph ain't known for his defense now.
Nah. But Steph probably could body that guy.
Man, stop.
Royals and Red Sox. Boston's Michael Chavez making a stupendous leaping catch.
Okay, now this is one of the better catches of the year. This is the absolute hardest when the ball is over your head and you're running from the infield towards the outfielder. This is even worse than the wall because that infielder running, he's getting in quick on you, and it's hard to keep your eyes on the ball knowing you can make contact with your teammate. Tremendous catch. That's Hall of Fame hands catch right there. Off Hall of Fame weekend. Let's get it done.
All right, to the CFL now. Ottawa rookie Devon Tate refusing to go down, taking the punt return.
4,
all
5,
the
6 guys touched him. Number 7 gonna get there. Maybe touched him a little on his 7 guys.
Man, 20 at the end had the angle. How does he let him get past him like that?
Let him. It's called speed, bro. He outran the angle.
He sure did.
You can't see it?
No, I do see it.
Analytics, you can't see that?
Oh, okay. Okay.
Had to throw that one in.
Hey, this is Nick Wright from First Things First, and you have to check out this website, pristine.com. Pristine Auction has daily auctions with $1 starting bids. Authenticity is important to Pristine Auction. Pristine Auction guarantees authenticity, and it comes with authentication from the most trusted sources. Pristine Auctions are affordable. Most people don't think they can afford this stuff, but it's much more affordable than you think. A Dick Butkus signed Bears jersey sold for just $56, and a Mike Tyson autographed boxing glove sold for under $100. It's quick and free to register. Bidding is free, and you only pay if you win. Use registration code FTF when joining pristine.com, and new users will receive a $5 auction credit. Again, you'll get a $5 auction credit when using registration code FTF to sign up for pristine.com. That's pristine.com.
Guys.
Analytics made the show.
Yeah.
Hard Knocks debuted last night, finally. Among the many highlights, Antonio Brown. While AB has played his entire career up until now in Pittsburgh, with all 74 of his career receiving touchdowns coming from Ben Roethlisberger, he's now a Raider, and his quarterback is now Derek Carr. So as you can imagine, his young sons are a little confused about the change at quarterback.
Come on.
Where's Rodgers?
Huh?
Where's Rodgers?
He play with the Steelers. Our quarterback Derek now. We don't play with Roethlisberger no more. We play with the Raiders. We play with Derek Carr. That's my quarterback. You know his name? What's his name?
Derek Carter?
Derek Carr.
Now where's him, Daddy?
He over there, number 4. He out there practicing.
It's so fitting. Where's Roethlisberger? Well, he don't play with him. Well, now who's your guy? Derek Carr. Derek Carr. Where is he? Over there. That's how the league almost sees Derek Carr. Who's the quarterback? Where is he? It's very funny. Adorable. And obviously a great show. I'm done.
Okay.
And we're back after this.
What just happened, Jenna? Jenna just gave a Hard Knocks review? That's on a different network that I don't know if a lot of people saw last night. Chris, let me ask you this question. How much do you think Antonio Brown's going to miss Big Ben?
I think that any wide receiver appreciates having one of the best that's ever done it. It makes your job so much easier. Now, there are some wide receivers because 9 out of 10 of us are crazy. I'm talking about cray. He got paid his money. He opened up his mouth so he can get out of Pittsburgh, all right? He wanted out, and he got the money, so he can't complain. But he did go down at least a couple tiers as far as his job got far more complicated. Not only with Pittsburgh Steelers, with their ability to be able to run the ball, things that they knew that AB did well, they were able to get him. That's why these last 4-year window is one of the special 4-year windows that we've seen to any wide receiver. John Gruden, I don't think is going to be as committed to getting him the ball as much as the Pittsburgh Steelers have been the last 4 to 6 years. When you've been targeted as much as him, so I believe there are going to be some issues, some growing pains, not only with the quarterback, but John Gruden calling his plays, how many times he's targeted, when he's targeted, and if he's getting enough looks in the red zone, Nick.
Chris, you mentioned the last 4-year window. I'll take it 6. Here's AB's last 6 years. Yards, 1,500, 1,700, 1,800, 1,300, 1,500, 1,300. A down year for Antonio Brown is 105 catches and 1,300 yards. That's a bad year for him since he's become Antonio Brown. I think that would be a great year for him this year. I think right now, this moment, if he could sign up for 1,300 yards, he should, because the offense is going to be different. Obviously, the quarterback play is going to be different, and the amount of attention he gets from defenses, even though obviously it's not like he snuck up on people in Pittsburgh, but because Ben's so talented and because they had Le'Veon Bell for a large portion of that 6-year run, they couldn't exclusively focus on Antonio Brown. All of that is going to make his job drastically more difficult.
The coverages aren't going to change. He's been double-teamed over the last 6 years, so that's not going to change. They're not going to put a third guy in his area. But what's going to change is the opportunities. When you play on the type of offense that Pittsburgh plays on, the defense, they can only take away so much, and you generate so many first downs. People miss in watching football how important getting first downs is to offensive players. And when you have a lot of talented players, the only way you get your numbers is by getting first down so you're able to stay on the field longer. That's what he's going to miss, and he's going to miss the trust factor, because most quarterbacks, when you are double-teamed, they are taught to get off. I see two opposite color jerseys on one guy. Get off that and go to some other area of the field where we have better matchups. Ben Roethlisberger and the great quarterbacks who have great rapport with that number one guy, they will still throw into that area and still have success. Let's see what Carr does, and let's see how AB reacts when Carr gets off of him during those double teams.
Why wouldn't Gruden make Antonio Brown the focal point of that offense? Why wouldn't that be where he starts with them if you have a guy as talented as Antonio Brown and a guy who could probably get better like Derek Carr because of AB?
Right, because the offense should start with the quarterback, and the quarterback should be able to dictate what does he do best. And then let's see if we get overlap of what Carr does best compared to what AB does best. It's more important than the quarterback. AB's already established himself. He has more flexibility. He can adjust more than Carr. Also, Carr's confidence is a lot more fragile. John Gruden has not developed one single quarterback since he's been in the league. It would be important to develop this one. So your attention should be on him. You should cater to him, because also, if he doesn't do well this year, Gruden is going to be off of him and moving on to another quarterback.
And obviously, the vast majority of Antonio's games have come with Big Ben, but he's played an entirety or a portion of 15 games with different quarterbacks. Hadn't caught a touchdown for anyone other than Big Ben. His numbers, his targets, his yards, his catches, everything fall off the mountain without Big Ben. Now, part of that situation when Big Ben's out, the Steelers become more of a running team. The quarterbacks, those quarterbacks are not as talented, except for a few games with Vic when he was playing well, as Derek Carr is right now. But this isn't Brandon Cooks, who's played with a bunch of different quarterbacks and had success with all of them. AB's been with Big Ben his whole career, had enormous record-breaking success with him. We'll see if he can get 80% of that success with Derek Carr.
All right, let's take a break. Coming up, did Aaron Rodgers step out of line with his new head coach already? That's next on First Things First. Back here, First Things First, we are going viral. Lamar Jackson is coming off an impressive rookie campaign, and now that he's on to a sophomore season, he no longer has to worry about hazing. The same cannot be said for Ravens rookie D lineman Daylon Mack, whose car was full of packing peanuts after practice because he forgot to bring cinnamon rolls to a meeting.
Now, this is the type of fun you probably sign off on, see?
This is a pain in the...
This ain't cool, man. That car ain't never going to be the same. It's an environmental hazard.
He's lucky to be on the team. He's lucky to get another chance. When we ask for donuts, we don't want glaze. We just want cinnamon donuts, rookie. There's a reason why they got you guys around here. I'm not going to ask you to probably play a lot of football your rookie year, but bring the donuts, make sure there's plenty of them, and make sure they're on time. I've done many a donut runs down at South Street, Patterson and Broad Street, there. The 10th inning, we used to go in there, get the sandwiches made up, pick up donuts for the veteran, Reggie White and them. Man, see, you got my donuts? I ain't got no donuts, Reggie. Go back over there. That's what they send you back to get them. Yes.
Once upon a time in this country, you could hang a man if he messed with your horse or took your horse. Now nothing happens when a man messes with your modern horse, your car. Like this is.
You want kids playing on scooters, but we can't have a little fun.
Yeah. The kids playing on scooters is fun. This is vandalism.
It's not vandalism. Good, clean-hearted fun. Time for stories to start your
That'll kill
morning.
that smoke smell in your car, though.
Yeah, it will.
Touche.
The NCAA has officially added criteria for agents who wish to represent student athletes testing the waters for the NBA draft. That criteria now includes a bachelor's degree. LeBron James referred to this new rule as the Rich Paul rule because his super agent, Rich Paul, does not have a degree. Nick, what do you make of this move by the NCAA?
It's classist, it's elitist, it's totally unnecessary. It is obviously targeting Rich Paul. And while I don't think this will have any negative effect on Rich and his agency, Clutch Sports, which is now a part of UTA, because they have plenty of other agents that do happen to have a bachelor's degree.
Yeah, a bunch of dummies.
Right,
NCAA.
but it is trying to prevent the next Rich Paul, trying to prevent the next person who does not come from a traditional background from becoming the most powerful agent in basketball. It's targeted, and I talked to Rich yesterday. He doesn't want to talk publicly about it. He said enough people are talking for him, but it's offensive what they're doing.
No, I didn't talk to Rich Paul yesterday. I talked to myself, and when I saw it come out, I knew it was some form of racism. It's called institutional racism. So now you can discriminate based on education. Well, Bill Gates, He's pretty smart. He don't have no degree, right?
Steve Jobs certainly doesn't.
Yeah, and
didn't.
Bill Gates doesn't have one either. Also, Chris Carter doesn't have one. I got offered an NCAA coaching job. So you can coach the kids, but you can't represent them and represent their contracts in the leagues if you. That doesn't make sense.
And listen, I want to, because it is important kids are protected from predatory agents. So having a test you have to pass is totally legitimate. But adding this prerequisite to just try to prevent someone who doesn't have a traditional education is an outrage.
All right, let's move on to the NFL now. Cowboys executive VP Stephen Jones.
Call my agent, see if he got a degree.
Says that it was, quote, news to us that Zeke won't play without a new contract.
I thought I was your agent.
However, he also
Agent
said that
Orange.
it doesn't change anything in their negotiation. C, you think that Zeke will actually miss this entire season if he doesn't get a new deal?
No, Jenna, we had a heated conversation this morning. Jenna is like, Zeke is not coming back. There's no way you tell someone, target them, you're definitely going to miss a part. I said, okay, I'm with you on that. He might sit out. No, just pump your brakes, Jenna. No L Bell here. But I think where Zeke is, and there's such a huge gap between what he wants and where Dallas is and what Dallas is willing to do, I do believe that he is starting to miss the beginning of the season. Him not showing up the first day, that was not my recommendation. I would have gone to camp, negotiated, and then left, threatened him to leave at the end. But this right here now, he's going to have to put up or show up because I don't think Jerry Jones is going to blink, Nick.
If the Cowboys started by saying in February it's going to start at Todd Gurley, and now they're saying it starts at Lev Bell, which is far below Todd Gurley.
You can't go back and scrub that.
Man, I think that's tough. You can't Men in Black flashy thing. You erase the memory. He knows what they said. So I do think they're far apart. I think right now it is more likely than ever before that Zeke is not on the field for week 1 against the Giants. But I agree with you. Lev Bell wasn't under contract, so he could skip the year. Zeke can't skip the year.
All right, Patriots quarterback Tom Brady's looking for a new home, literally. He put his Boston area home on the market after the news his contract will void after this season. Nick, is this a big deal?
It's a deal. That's what I'll call it. I don't think it's a huge deal, and I don't think it means he's moving out today. But Tom Brady is...
Why don't we do this? We're going to start over. Act as if I'm not here. Jenna, ask him the question again. Act like I'm not here, Nick.
It's a big deal. Nick, this was a big deal, too, in the meeting this morning. You said like this.
Here's
I
the deal.
think it's a big deal
The
now.
last 3 years, you've been to 3 Super Bowls.
Okay, here we go.
Greatest comeback ever. Then you won a league MVP. Then you won another
Lower,
Super
C.
Bowl.
Lower.
You've taken all these damn discounts. They're treating you like you got to sing for your supper.
There
If
you
I'm
go.
Tom Brady, I'm making them worried that forget you guys want to bring me back in 2020. Maybe I don't want to come back. Dallas Cowboys might have an opening quarterback. Bill Belichick wants to see if he can do it without me. How about what if I can do without you, Bill?
See?
Man,
I can live anywhere I want to live.
There
Pipe
you
down,
go.
man. These is rich people problems, man. Giselle wants a little bit different scenery and everything, man. The kids are getting to a certain age, might have to test out some new schools. Gonna stay in the same region, might do like Kobe, might move to Greenwich, catch a helicopter every day. All right?
Okay.
All right, just relax,
By
man.
the way, it's hard to sell a $40 million property in Brookline, Massachusetts. Not a lot of buyers in that area for that level.
Maybe Big Poppy could use it.
Maybe Dak Prescott will buy it.
Oh, a Brady Prescott trade. I like it.
Okay, just remember.
I'm hearing. It's what I'm hearing.
Across the league, multiple teams are holding joint practices. The Packers working alongside the Texans, while head coach Matt LaFleur is a fan of the joint practice. His quarterback is not. Aaron Rodgers said he wouldn't mind if they didn't do it for another 14 years. So you see, what do you make of Aaron Rodgers' comments?
He don't know how to put a team together. New England Patriots, what do they do every year? They go somewhere.
Joint practices.
Practice against another team. They were in Detroit after the Hall of Fame, practice against the Lions, and then play against the Lions. My history has been, for a long time, not only every place I've been, Philadelphia, we went down to Atlanta, practice against teams. That's in the 80s now. They've been doing this a long time.
And why do you do it? What's advantageous to you guys?
And then even at that time, we had 2-a-days every day, and we had pads, 2 practices every day. We had 6 weeks of training camp, 4 weeks of hitting and tackling. And it still gives you a more competitive environment to develop the physicality. And you can do special teams live against an opposition, against a credible NFL team. You can do every drill live. This is better than playing in the preseason game. For your veteran players, less injuries happen in these practices. Man, the intel that you get from other coaches working. We used to, Minnesota used to go to River Falls, Wisconsin, where the Saints used to be close by and the Chiefs used to be. The Packers weren't far. So you had a little region right there where teams were practicing. The Bears were there practicing. You could practice against 2 or 3 teams in a week span, and the film that you would watch would be so much better than your normal practice film. Going against a guy that I've been going against for 6 months, because I went against him in the OTAs, I went against him in the mini camps, and I'm going against the same guys on my team in training camp.
So let me ask you this real quick, because Aaron Rodgers isn't going to be touched, whether it's joint practices or just his own.
Yeah, you need to shut up.
But why do you think he doesn't like it? Because the quarterback's not the one getting hit anyway. It's not like Aaron Rodgers is the one who has to deal with the extra physicality. Why do you think he doesn't like it?
In these joint practices, there was a safety who took a cheap shot on one of their tight ends. He got thrown out of practice after 2 of them. So that's what maybe he's referring to. But his job is just as easy. And if you're practicing against another quarterback, a young quarterback, you can typically give this guy some tips. Guys come seek you out. I love practicing against the Saints. Man, with Haslam was their head coach.
Jim Haslett.
Haslett was their head coach there. The defenders that they had there for years going against them. Kansas City with Ross playing cornerback.
And Albert Lewis.
Albert Lewis. I mean, it to me was some of the best work that I ever got throughout training camp were those joint practices. So the physicality of a team becomes real important. And with the collective bargaining agreement, there's less practices, there's less padded practices. The first month of the season, it suffers. You don't have a running game. Your offensive line play is not good, and offensive line play has suffered the last several years because of lack of contact. So this is a great way to get your football team seasoned and ready for battle to get through the whole.
And what you don't like, a couple days in, Aaron Rodgers is already voicing complaints about something. So
after the coach had already said that it was very successful and he enjoyed it.
Yep. All right, take a break. Coming up, does Dak need Amari Cooper or Zeke more to be successful? That's next on First Things First.
I used to travel to River Falls, see the Chiefs training camp. Heckle the hell out of Chris Carter. Get him, Albert Lewis.
Yeah.
He always doing all this talking.
Back here with Coach Mangini, talking some Cowboys. The team is yet to agree to extensions for the 3 offensive stars. While many believe Zeke is the most important player to the team's success, Cowboys reporter Todd Archer believes that Dak Prescott needs Amari Cooper more because, quote, points come in the passing game. Coach, who does Dak need more in order to be successful on this team? Would it be Amari or would it be Ezekiel Elliott?
It's Ezekiel Elliott. It's hands down Ezekiel Elliott. And look, points do come through the passing game. That's true. But the passing game in Dallas is set up by the running game. And that's set up by the 8-man boxes that they consistently get because people are trying to stop Zeke. Now, all that being said, we can't forget that Zeke had, 75 catches last year? So it's not like he's not a significant part of the passing game.
Great point.
So that's another way that they're getting the ball. So he had 322 carries plus another 75 receptions. You're telling me that guy's not the most important guy to that offense? It's not even close.
Well, I'm going to use a cross-sport analogy for a moment to boxing. The vast majority of knockouts come via headshots, right? Like that's statistically true. But very often, what has set you up for the knockout are the repeated body blows, are the repeated shots, and that all of a sudden enough body blows, you start to protect the body a little bit more, and you leave yourself open for the knockout punch. That is more true for the Dallas Cowboys than any team in the league. Because of the limitations at quarterback, because of a dominant offensive line, and because of or potentially dominant offensive line, and because of the talent at running back, the Cowboys are a bit of a throwback in the way to move the football and the way to help their quarterback. We don't know what Dak would look like over the course of an entire season where he's not consistently facing 8-man boxes, but we got a pretty good idea that it would not be great. And so what Zeke does from forcing the defense into account for him before they account for anyone else, that is Dak's best friend more than Amari Cooper. Now, if C says Julio's the best receiver in football, let's say that's the case. If Julio...
Yeah, don't listen to me.
No, I'm saying let's say it's the case. If Julio were on the Cowboys, then to me it would be more of a discussion. I still might lean towards Zeke because of the limitations of the quarterback, but we're comparing a guy who is arguably the best runner of the football in the entire league to someone who's somewhere around the 10th best receiver on a team who has limitations at quarterback. To me, it's a no-brainer. It starts and ends with Ezekiel Elliott.
But Chris has brought this up before. Receivers are at the mercy of the guy throwing the ball, the protection. There's so many things that have to go into their success, regardless of how talented they are. If the guy can't get him the ball, then there's problems. So even if Julio is there, maybe this debate would be a little bit different, but it's what Zeke does for the quarterback to simplify defenses that helps him so much. And even the idea that we're talking about him needing someone to help him that much should put these whole extensions into perspective as well.
Yeah, the number one stat to determine the NFL game, who's going to win or lose, is turnovers. If we were looking at stats, though, if we were looking at what the running backs do in the NFL and what the wide receivers do, because so many wide receivers and so many people are able to spread the ball, you would think that the numbers, that the wide receivers are just as important. But they're not to a football game. This is what I do know. Being around NFL teams as long as I have, there's two things, besides turn the ball over, they do not want to happen. There's two themes. We are not going to let you brutalize our quarterback. Regardless, the last 30 years, that is not going to happen. If you want to send a message to the opposition, hit their quarterback repeatedly. Knock him on his backside. And the second thing is, when they start the game, they are saying you are not going to take my manhood and you are not going to run that football on us. Every NFL team has said that. Ezekiel Elliott is so good. With a limited quarterback, he's still been able to run the football as effective as a runner as we've seen in the NFL. You can match his numbers up starting against any of the greats that we have seen. So what he does is far more important to the psyche of football, to the psyche of winning football games, and to the mentality of NFL players. I know a lot of fans, they don't get into that, but, man, when you're on that field and you know as a football player, we can take your heart out by two things, knocking your quarterback down and, man, running this football on. If I run it 40 times, my percentages go way up. I help my defense. Last year, Dallas's defense, when they don't play 30 minutes, they were 8-0. So you tell me who's more important, a wide receiver who's not eating up the clock or one of the best running backs that we've seen?
Yeah, there's the element of just being demoralized, like Chris talks about. And I remember the first time we played the Patriots when I was at the Jets, and they were able to run the ball in the fourth quarter, and we couldn't do anything about it. And there's that determination of we're not going to get bullied anymore. And it permeates the locker room. Nobody wants that. It said, you know, I don't know if you have an older brother or not, but if your older brother ever held you down and you can't do anything about it, it's that feeling of this isn't gonna happen again. And Zeke gives them the opportunity to do that to a lot of people.
On the field, and then he also probably gives Dak more confidence than Amari does. Dak probably feels better and stronger in the pocket knowing Ezekiel Elliott is there lined up than having Amari Cooper there, say, for example.
What fans can't get mixed up is comfort level with who sets the table. Yeah, now you can have a nice dinner, but man, if you don't have a nice tablecloth with some dishes and everything, Jenna could be in there preparing a 5-star meal, which she'll be ready for in the next couple of years, getting coached up by our staff and everything. But Zeke is the table setter, and because Amari came after Zeke, people could see, wow, Dak got better. So now they're trying to compare. Well, we know he's better with Zeke. Well, man, he got better with Amari being there. But let's not fool yourself, all right? Zeke is the table setter for that organization.
Well, that's a really interesting thought experiment. If they had come in the opposite order. If Dak had come into the league with Amari but no running game. If the Cowboys running back core was like the Cowboys.
The whole world would have known why he was a 4th-round pick from Mississippi State.
And then if
we don't know if he'd even be the quarterback at this point.
Agreed. And that if Tony Romo, they would have, as soon as his collarbone got better, if he'd have been back in there. But let's just, for the moment, assume he is still the quarterback. And then all of a sudden, midway through one season, they had the best running back in football. And all of a sudden, everyone looks better. It is sometimes the most recent thing that happened is the most important thing that ever happened. And the most recent change that happened with the Cowboys was the addition of Amari Cooper. And to Dak's credit, he went from a season and a half of not being able to break 270 yards passing, which is not a big number in today's NFL, to consistently doing it. And he turned the ball over less. And he made more big plays. And I don't want to take that away from him. He had to make those plays.
But he wouldn't have made those plays with the coverages that Ezekiel Elliott and what they do.
Exactly right. Like that, if you don't have the defense's number one priority being stopping the running game, if all of a sudden he has to deal with what Aaron Rodgers deals with, or so that's his first quarterback came to mind, where every game they go in saying, we're going to stop their passing game. If they run on us, we will adjust, even though you're saying
what
you
Patty
can take
Mahomes
your
is
man.
getting ready to face.
Absolutely. Patrick Mahomes without Kareem Hunt. We're going to stop the passing game. We'll deal with the running game secondarily. That's what puts the quarterback in the most difficult position.
And when you can play split safety defense, when you can put 2 safeties back, then if they have an elite receiver, you get to double team him every single play. So you're going to take him out of the read 90+% of the time just by virtue of the fact that you don't need that extra guy down in the box to stop the running game. It changes things dramatically.
Just so people understand, you can play split safeties if you don't have 8 men in the box, if you're not worried about the running
if you're stopping the pass first and the running game isn't a big threat, you keep extra guys back, figuring that you're going to stop the run with the guys you have up front, or they're not going to be able to do much even if they try to run it, and then you push all that stuff to dealing with the passing game.
Good stuff, Coach. That's probably why you were a coach, just because you know all that stuff. Thank you for listening to the First Things First podcast. Remember, leave us a review and tell us what you think. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and catch us on FS1 Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. Eastern. For Cris Carter and Nick Wright, I'm Jenna Wolfe. So long, everybody.